Let me tell you a simple village story. A story that teaches a lesson many people forget. Also, you will learning some new words to improve your English. So let's begin. In a quiet village surrounded by green fields and slow-moving rivers, there lived a farmer named Rohan. Rohan was strong, hard-working, and dedicated to his fields. But he had one habit that everyone knew about. He complained. All the time. If the sun was too bright, he complained. If the rain didn't come, he complained. If the rain came too much, he complained again. If crops grew slowly, he blamed the weather, the soil, the tools, even luck. The villagers were kind to him, but many avoided conversations with him because they knew what he would say. Life is unfair. Nothing works. Everything goes wrong for me. One year, things got especially difficult. The monsoon arrived late. The river near the village dried up slightly, and many crops grew slowly. Some farmers accepted the situation and worked harder. Some adapted and found new ways to water their fields. But Rohan, he complained more than ever. Every morning he stood in the middle of his dry field saying, "Why does this always happen to me? Why is my life the hardest?" Even though all the farmers were facing the same problem, Rohan believed that his struggle was bigger, heavier, more painful. But here's the twist. Something happened that Rohan did not expect. One afternoon, as Rohan sat under a banyan tree complaining about the heat, he saw an old man walking toward him. The old man wore simple clothes and carried a wooden stick. His hair was white and his steps were slow, but his eyes were bright and warm. Everyone in the village respected him. He was known as Baba Ishan, a wise elder who traveled from village to village, helping people with advice. He walked toward Rohan and smiled. "Why do you look so unhappy, my son?" Rohan immediately began listing his problems. "The sun is too hot. The soil is too dry. My crops are dying. My life is the hardest in this entire village." The old man listened patiently. Not a single time did he interrupt. When Rohan finished, breathing heavily from all the complaining, the old man simply said, "Come with me." Surprised, Rohan followed him. They walked to the center of the village where there was an empty shed. Inside the shed were dozens of big, heavy sacks, each one tied tightly with rope. "What are these?" Rohan asked. "These," the old man said, "are the problems of the village. Every family has put their biggest problem inside one sack. Today, I want you to choose one sack for yourself." Rohan laughed. "That's easy. Any sack would be lighter than the problems I carry." Baba Ishan nodded. "Then choose." Rohan opened the first sack. Inside, he found a letter written by a widow. Her only son was sick, and she didn't have money for medicine. Rohan closed the sack quietly. He opened the second. A young couple had lost their home during a storm and were living with their neighbors. The third sack belonged to an elderly man who could no longer walk and needed daily help. The fourth belonged to a family who hadn't eaten properly for a week because their crop had completely failed. The fifth came from a father who was working 2 jobs to pay for his daughter's school but feared he would still fail her dreams. One by one, Rohan opened sack after sack. With each problem he read, his face changed, his eyes softened, his voice grew quiet. After opening more than 20 sacks, he stepped back. I don't want any of these," Rohan whispered. The old man gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then choose your own sack, the one you came with." Rohan understood. His problems, which once felt enormous, now looked small compared to what others carried. He picked his sack and held it tightly, almost with relief. The old man smiled and said, "Every person in this world carries a burden. Some burdens are heavy, some are unbearable, and some are invisible. You believed your problems were the worst because you only looked at your life. But when you look at others, you realize your troubles might be easier than theirs." He continued, "Instead of complaining, be grateful for the strength you have. Be thankful for the problems you can still handle, because someone out there wishes they had your life." Rohan's eyes filled with silence, a silence deeper than words. For the first time, he didn't complain, he simply nodded. He went home and looked at his field again. The sun was still hot, the soil was still dry. Nothing had magically improved, but something inside him had changed. Instead of complaining, he picked up his tools and started working again. He asked his neighbor for advice. He shared water from the well with another farmer. He worked through the heat without blaming the sky, and slowly, his crops began to grow. The villagers noticed the change. Rohan no longer complained. He smiled more, helped more, and became the farmer he always had the potential to be. Here's your English lesson for today. Word, burden, meaning a heavy load, a problem, or responsibility that is difficult to carry. Example sentence: every person carries a burden that others may not see. Practice using this word in your own sentence today. Write it in the comments section. Moral of the story: before you complain about your life, remember this. If you placed your problems in a pile with everyone else's, you would take yours back. Before you go, let's learn 2 more useful English words from this story. 1. Grateful. Feeling thankful for the good things in your life. Example: Rohan became grateful for what he had. 2. Perspective. The way you see or understand a situation. Example: his perspective changed when he saw others' problems. And here are 2 helpful English phrases. Look on the bright side, meaning try to find something good even in a bad moment. Count your blessings, meaning remember the good things you already have. Now tell me in the comments, what is one thing you are grateful for today?